Good afternoon, all. On behalf of IoT Academy, we welcome you all for the second session of National Level Faculty Development Program on the fundamentals of research and research methodology. Let me introduce the research person of today's session, Dr. Vasudha. She is currently working as an assistant professor, St. Anne's College for Women, Mahidipatnam, Hyderabad, Telangana. Her qualifications include MCom, MBA Marketing from Osmania University, and PhD in Commerce from Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University. She is having 11 years of experience in academics. Dr. Vasudha has contributed chapters in e-commerce and auditing books for Ambedkar Open University. She has to her credit 12 paper publications in UGC recognized journals at various national and international conferences. Dr. Vasudha has won Best Paper Award at a national seminar held at ISBN, Hyderabad. She has organized and has attended numerous FTPs, workshops, and seminars. She has also authored a book titled Online Shopping in India. With this, we hand over the session to Dr. Vasudha. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Jayalakshmi, for that wonderful start. A very good afternoon and good evening to one and all. Today's session on effective dissertation writing. Before we start, can I ask a few questions? Can the audience, are the audience muted or unmuted? What is their status, Jayalakshmi? Can I know? Can they answer?
They can answer.
Okay. So how many of you are involved in currently writing dissertation? Any plans? Are you at in your PhD work? If anyone are into it, may I know anyone who is in the process of writing their dissertations?
Yes, ma'am.
That's great. One. Anyone else? Okay. All right. So here, let's move on. What does a dissertation means? There is a difference. There are, research papers. Most often they're confused. People use, end up. Yes, those who are into doing their PhDs and those who have already done, they are very clear about what, but at the very beginning stage of PhD scholars, they end up getting confused as to what is a research paper, what is a thesis, what is a dissertation, how they are different. So let me begin with a very brief meaning and differences among these two, that is research paper and a dissertation. Research paper is a very short piece of writing that not necessarily that a scholar or a PhD pursuing scholar does. It can be done by any university teacher. It can be done by corporates or anyone, industry experts, anybody who wanted to share their experiences in the form of a research paper. They can, at the most, those research papers end up with 10 to 15 pages. And they consist of introduction. Yes, outline, if you speak about research paper and dissertation has got the same outline. That is the research, content that they happen to consist of. But in case of a research paper where it is only of about 10 to 15 pages, not more than 15 pages is accepted, across. Whereas dissertation is, in terms of duration, it's a very long process. It may end up, from minimum to minimum 4 to 5 years up to any number of years. Coming to the length of the papers that it happens to be more than 100 pages, more than 200, 400, to any number of pages. Okay, and since we are making a comparison here with a research article or a research paper that we call, which is, minimum of 4 pages to 15 pages at the maximum. 10 is suggested, but maximum we can go up to 15 pages if the content is to be justified and to be presented. But dissertation is, as you are trying to understand, it is a very long duration journey, which a scholar happens to have a journey through, and what all the learnings happened over those periods, those levels, etc. Very detailed writing they have to do, and meaningful presentation they have to do it. And this all, well, when compiled in a book, okay, when compiled all this in a very systematic way, and in a chronological order as it has been prescribed, it becomes a book which consists of more than 100 pages, more than 200, 300 pages. And all this, this book is now called as a dissertation. And this piece of book that you happen to submit to your universities for possessing your PhDs, etc. This dissertation again later can be converted into a book. And as I said, again I repeat, dissertation includes all the experiences, all the learnings of the scholar in a very chronological order, in a very systematic way. It is presented it is presented by dividing them all into n number of chapters. And all this put together later can be published with ISSN or ISBN number. The textbooks, it can come up in the form of textbooks in the later stage, that is post PhD. So dissertation is all about your learning experiences. Also, more oftenly or more popularly, it is called as thesis. Okay, thesis, dissertation, which a scholar happens to, which a research scholar happens to submit it to the university for the purpose of granting PhDs to the researcher. Now, look at these points which are on the screen. This is a long piece of academic writing, as I've been telling. Then it is an original research. Yes, here the researcher happens to start with a question that is most popularly referred as researchable question. And this question, the researcher tries to possess answers to those questions, validity of those answers, whether they're valid or not. So this journey of research over a period of time is purely a research original work conducted by the researcher. And at the end of his journey, or his or her journey, the researcher happens to submit this to the university. Upon submitting, you get a degree. The researcher happens to get a degree which is called as a PhD. And this happens to be independent. It is not at all going to be shared, unlike when you compare to research article, research papers that we publish. They can be co-authored. Like I can be a principal investigator and another person I can add, where we can partially share the work, and we can, at the end of our journey of research paper, that's 10 to 15 pages, we can publish in any reputed journals or etc. This can be shared. The research article can be shared, whereas dissertation cannot be shared with anyone. It is just you receive and you happen to get some suggestions from your supervisors, from your friends, your academic professionals, industry experts, etc. You happen to get lot of learnings from all these sections in the society, but it is again your independent work, the researcher's independent work. You cannot share this work with anyone. Yes, you can acknowledge their contribution in your journey, in your learning process. And finally, as I said, it is also called as a thesis more commonly. Yes. Moving ahead, what does a dissertation contains? Dissertation contains basically the dissertation we are going to discuss in three parts today. That is first pages, that's we call it as front matter, which includes title, abstract, list of tables, figures, graphs, etc. And then main part includes various chapters that you have that a researcher happens to divide the whole work, okay, into unit wise, chapter wise or unit wise. Most commonly the content of these chapters would be focusing on introduction, literature review, or we call it as theoretical framework, methodology, results, discussions, and conclusions. This is the main part of the research. And then comes the end matter, that is the final pages that you happen to include, like references, bibliography, appendices, etc., and any other form, table that you happen that a researcher happens to share with the within their thesis, that all attestations can be done at the end. That comes in the end matter. Okay, very in detail, let's see each one. Moving ahead with the front pages. Front page includes, first page will be title page. Now, before we move on to the subject and the various other sections in this, one thing you all remember, this is a general structure of a dissertation which I am presenting today. Apart, it differs from university to university. It differs from subject to subject, the department to department, like social sciences, managements, again, physical sciences, etc. It happens to differ from university and to subject. So please keep in mind, this is just an overview of how a dissertation can be kick-started. I mean, when you're writing, when a researcher happens to start, so to get a broad area as to how it does look and how do a researcher starts on writing its dissertation, this particular session would definitely help you. By the end of the session, you will be able to learn as to how to start, etc. But again, please connect back to your own universities and again to your subjects, which provides again a format, a particular format which you all have to follow. Okay, so starting with the title page, more or less the title page includes, the dissertation title, which can be like, a study on the perception of forensic accounting and opinion of academicians. Like that, whatever title you have planned, that should be in bold with 16 font size. That is the general, as I repeat again, excuse me, it is the common format that everyone follows. Besides, again, check back with your universities, it is 16 font size. And throughout this dissertation, please, the instructions are like, you have to follow Times New Roman and normal page setting, with, if your university permits, you can have your headers and footers. If not, all these footers information will go to appendices. That's the last end part of the dissertation. Otherwise, you can have, but mostly in this generation, it's it has been observed that the footer notes have been transferred to either at the end of each chapter, the respective chapters, or at the end, that's in references, bibliography section, etc. So dissertation, the title pages includes dissertation title, that is the title of your research work that you are carrying on. Details about the PhD scholar name, roll number, which university they are from, the university year, dates, if any, and to whom you are submitting. That is your Department of Microbiology, Department of Commerce, Department of Management of so and so university. It will be. I'll show you the sample at the end. I'm not sure if I'm not comfortable sharing it in between. At the end of this presentation, I will show you a sample as to how a title page will appear. And then you have, if any, certificates of received from your supervisor, from the university. Again, it varies from university to university. So if in case those pages you have to insert after the title page, followed by acknowledgements. Now, how do you write acknowledgements? What is acknowledgement? It is acknowledging the various people whom you have come across, institutions, organization, people, events, etc., that happen to help a person, the researcher, in possessing the knowledge that you happen to compile in your research. So in this process of almost 4 years to any number of years, all those learnings, all those peoples, all those events, institutions, organization that directly or indirectly had helped you in learning and moving on, you can name by name, institution by institution, in a very chronological order, either from the least to the best or to the best to the least. It depends upon the researcher. It's absolutely the choice of the researcher how they want to present, but it should be very personal. That you all have to keep in mind. Okay, it is your own words in your own handwriting. Please do not copy paste it from anywhere. It should be straight away from your heart on the paper. Whatever you happen to think about people or institution, please put it on paper in the form of acknowledgement, more or less one or even sometimes more than one pages also. Okay. Yes, all those people, as I said, thank people who help you complete your dissertation. Example, supervisors, friends, family, yes, pets, your own, your institutions where you're working, some corporate collaborations which you happen to have, some, labs that you happen to connect. All those people, all those labs, okay, you can share a word of acknowledgement with them, with the in the page of acknowledgements. Then followed by present a page on abstract. Again, abstract should be very professional writing, and please do not think it to be a summary of your complete dissertation. Not at all. It's not at all a summary of or a precise writing of your complete dissertation. No, please do focus only on these 4 points while you're writing your abstract. And this abstract, remember, can be written at the beginning and should be even written at the end. At the beginning, why does a researcher write is at the beginning in order to propose and get approval from the panel. You happen to present your abstract. At the end, you happen to write your abstract in order to show in a very precise manner as to what it contains. Your dissertation, what does it contain? Very briefly, you are showing or presenting the content of your research dissertation, complete thesis. Okay, it should include, mainly it should focus on aims of your research. That is your objectives with which you have started. Yes, you can even start with your researchable questions, followed by research objectives, followed by methodology the researcher has adopted. Methodology include the systematic way, like it can be data collection, data processing of data, like how do you collect the data, the procedure, and then followed by how do you process the data. After processing, how did you analyze, which tools did you analyze, and in the same process we can also discuss about various sampling, sample, how did you select your sample, then what tool did you adopt to collect the data, like is it interview, observation, or labs, etc., etc. What all you have, you just have to talk about methodology that one has adopted. Okay, and then the results. Results, please make a note here. Connect your results in order to precise it. Connect it back to your researchable questions. Researchable questions should be connected to objectives, and objectives should be helping you to draw your results. And if you create the connection between researchable question and research objectives followed by results, then you will not have unnecessary stuff in between or stories to be included between. Yes, I agree. While your journey of PhD, almost every scholar happens to grab so much of content, so much of, you happen to possess information about the topic, but not everything can be accommodated. You need to be very precise and concise in order to remain precise and concise, especially when you're writing abstract. Please focus on your researchable question, create a link to your objectives, follow the link in order to write about results. And then if you follow or create this kind of linkage between these three, then definitely your conclusions will be exactly upon those questions that you have raised at the beginning. It won't lead to extra additional things to be included. It will be very precise. I guarantee you that, provided if you happen to create a connection between your researchable question, researchable objectives, and followed by your results, you can happily and conveniently, very concisely, you can draw your conclusions. Otherwise, when you do not have a line or a connection, you happen to write about so much that you happen to learn, okay, which may not be within the scope of your learnings. That is your thesis. They may go beyond your scope. So hence, please try to follow this connection. Moving on to table of content. Now, what is table of content? Yes, you divide your whole thesis into several chapters. Sometimes it is 5 based upon objectives. Sometimes it is 7, 8. Sometimes even if it's more than 8. How do you chapterize them? I mean, table of content, because the people who are maybe your own supervisor, or it could be panel of examiners, those who would be present at your viva voce examination defending day. They happen to look at what is your content. Okay, this content will facilitate them as to the depth of knowledge that you have possessed and the coverage that you have done. So table of content is very important, which includes from your the very first part that I have been presently discussing will not be numbered. Okay, the main part, that is the introduction literature, they are numbered and they need to be present in the content, followed by the end part also will be included in content. First part which we are discussing, that is the title page, the acknowledgements, table of content, all these need not necessarily be available in the table of content. Okay, or most popularly it is called as index that we usually look at to find a topic in the textbook. Similarly, you will have to present a table of content. Yes, you can take the word help, word document, where it is auto generated. You can even take the help of some softwares which will auto generate your content. Okay, and content should not be very lengthy, etc. It should be very clear, consistent, and headings basically it should concentrate on. And then another page that you have to insert is abbreviations. Now, what are all abbreviations? Most of the time, like in chemistry, physics, management, etc., we happen to use some abbreviations. Instead of writing the complete word, we happen to tend to use some abbreviations. So here, the other party, the other person who is reading your or going through your thesis should know what does that abbreviation mean in your thesis. For that purpose, you have to give a list of more oftenly used, okay, more oftenly used abbreviations in the very first page itself. In in this set of first pages, you have to include a page on abbreviations, when you will provide a complete list of abbreviations that have been popularly or more oftenly used in the complete thesis. And when you are arranging this, how do you arrange? Not chapter wise, nor the section wise, etc. It should be arranged alphabetically, like from A to Z. You can have a list, and there later you can take the help of some plugins which will enable you to put them all in alphabetical order. And yes, the very well known abbreviations, please do not use WhatsApp languages, etc. Ignore. Abbreviations means some technical words that you happen to use in chemistry, physics, or in management, commerce, etc. Like the example, CR is credit. CREDIT, credit. We in the commerce denote as CR. The word debit, we denote it as DR. So this CR and DR are subject, are related to subject. Okay, so such kind of abbreviations we can present a list of all of those which we happen to use it. Like ledger folio, LF we call it as LF for ledger folio. Like that, you can have a list of all the abbreviations which you have often used in the whole thesis, not only in one chapter but in the whole thesis. Very oftenly that you have used, you can present them as a list arranged in alphabetical order. Then we have glossaries. What is glossary? The meaning in English terminology. Yes, subject to subject, department to department, like management, physics, chemistry, microbiology, etc. The terminology that we use happen to have a slight differences in understanding. Okay, in our general English. So this glossary will enable the readers to understand about a special terms. Okay, what does it mean? Meaning. Okay, so again, coming to its arrangement order, it should be alphabetical in order, and the more often used terms in the complete thesis, almost everywhere, can be put up in the glossary alphabetical order by providing the meanings to it in a very simple and easy to understand language. Okay, it includes lot of specialist terms. It should be arranged in alphabetical order, and yes, definition, it has to include a very clear meaning of what does it mean. And okay, and yes, before you happen to insert this in your thesis, you can discuss with your supervisors or the technical team that you have, collaborations that you have. You can discuss and finalize your glossary page. Okay, so this was all about the first set of pages, which includes title page, acknowledgements, certificates, if any, table of content, that is index, followed by the abbreviations page, and abbreviations page followed by the last page, which is glossary. Okay, so all this comes to comprises of first pages in your dissertation, followed by the main part will begin, and the main part will begin with the first is introduction. Now you may have doubt, yes, it is divided into chapters, then how is that? I'm projecting this here. Yes, again I repeat here on this note that department to department, university to university, subject to subject, there is a change in the way dissertation is to be submitted. So please do follow the respective universities, etc. But overall, how many ever chapters that you happen to divide? How many ever units or chapters are the kind of sections that you happen to make? All those put together basically comprises of what I am showing you in this main part, that is introduction, literature review, methodology, results, discussions. Whatever could be the outline or the way your universities would be seeking the presentation should be, but these are the contents which otherwise definitely could be there in here. So on these very important points, I will present these outlines of your dissertations. That is, first one is begins with introduction. Now what is introduction? It's basically introduction, somewhere between 2 to 3 pages you can write on introduction. Again, it is not brief, it is going to be an overview, complete overview of your topic which you have selected. Okay, the research topic that you have selected, which also includes background, that is historical information, milestones, the scope that you are going to cover it, how important this particular topic is in this generation. You can talk about, I mean, the period there the researcher is conducting research. You can talk about how important it is to talk about this kind of topics, followed by the researchable questions, objectives, which are the very essence of your dissertation. Okay, so a very very descriptive, very detailed presentation that you a researcher happens to do in introduction. Yes, here as you can see there are around 6 points that I am showing you, which you can again divide it into 6 paragraphs, focusing each one on, like it is said, first point is on topic. So talk about the topic that you have selected. Then second paragraph, talk about background of that topic, talk about the scope, and then show how it is important or significant to conduct or to select this kind of topic, the dynamic topic that you have selected. Then focus on talking about how a research questions can be emerged, and then how an objective, not exactly you will be showing objectives or research questions, but you can give a very brief hints on the researchable questions and objectives, followed by complete overview of, you can also, there are universities I have very recently come across where they happen to include a chapter which is named as introduction, which includes all these subheadings, where they have to show the complete chapterization, which is also called as organization of the study. So it includes all in one, first the very beginning, first chapter itself includes all this, like where you have to talk about all these 6 things, and the researcher happens to present about the complete overview of your dissertation. Like chapter 1 includes introduction. What does it include? Chapter 2 about what? Chapter 3 about what? And very briefly about each chapters, discussing like that under the structure. So it depends upon how different it is. If it is just an introduction that you have to write, it can go up to 2 to 3 pages writing on introduction, which is a part of one of your chapter. Okay, and how do you write introduction is what I'm showing you. Then moving on to literature review. Again, some universities happen to include literature review in the introduction chapter itself. Some happens to show, present them separately as one chapter, which is also popularly called as theoretical framework. So it depends upon how the requirement is. So literature review basically is about the previous studies, can be from various authenticated sources like books, reviews and articles, newspapers, previous PhD thesis, research papers, etc. So all these comprises of your literature review. How do you and what do you have to focus on? Yes, firstly focus on searching for sources, the various sources that you happen to, like if you happen to do upon the share market. So what are the various authenticated sources that you can connect to? SEBI's guidelines, SEBI's websites, and various bulletins which are issued at regular intervals by SEBI, are all these authenticated sources for a person who is carrying research in these areas. Okay, so likewise, suppose you are focusing on a bank, then you focus on the RBI bulletins, RBI journals, RBI newsletters, etc., which comprises, which forms as a authenticated source for your literature data. Okay, then out of all those the sources that you happen to identify, select the most relevant, and followed by evaluate them critically as to its relevance of usage. Uh, Try to create connection between them. Now, how do you create connection? Uh, just go back to your topic title, your idea, as to what is your idea and what the information they are providing you. Try to connect them, and you can bridge a gap and connect it rightly. Then followed by look at the conclusions or reviews that you can collect from those papers or the sources, and then finally try to build or present what is your learning from all this by present by writing a paragraph, some lines about that particular source. You can present literature. Likewise, you have to do number of literature reviews, some number of books, some number of research papers, some number of PhDs, some number of authenticated, various other authenticated sources, etc. You the number, again, it goes back to your university's requirement, how many department requirement, and you can even consult your own supervisors, your guides, and they can suggest you as to how many number of reviews that you have to write. Okay, so all this can form one complete unit in your dissertation. Okay, then comes your theoretical framework. Again, yes, it connects back to the previous step, that is the literature review. All your learnings, that is practical. Like suppose SEBI's, as I said in my example, if you are conducting any research or on a topic of share market, etc., then SEBI is one of the authenticated source. And suppose if you are connecting it to a company, then related to that company, theoretical framework, how, when did it start, then what are their milestones, the related stuff of how do they evaluate, how do they value the prices, commodity market. Likewise, related information about the particular topic you have to collect, which can be in the form of sometimes theories, sometimes already established concepts would be there, some already bridge models would be there. Now here again, these models, concepts, and theories, if you happen to learn and review all this and present in your own way, this probably will enable a researcher to give an idea as to what you can bring a new into it, what changes probably you can do it. If you learn as to what are available, you would be getting an idea as to what new you can do in order to develop a new model. So with this, what happens is the researcher will get an idea, the new connections, new questions for which they may come up with new models, new concepts. Okay, a new framework, which it could probably become their PhD work. Okay, so show how they inform you on your own approach. So this can be again discussed with your supervisor and things can be finalized. You can have your own layout of the concepts and the models that you wanted to develop it in the course of your PhD journey, and this can be discussed and can be proposed in your PhD work. Okay, then the very important and the vital part of your PhD thesis is the methodology. What is methodology? Now, here again, the research can be of qualitative, quantitative, experimental. Yes, whatever the type of research that you are carrying on, very detailedly, why is it so in that area? the details about your approach as to the selection of the type of research. Okay, the type of research, is it qualitative, is it quantitative, is it experimental? You have to be clear. Only then you will be in a position to collect the data properly, because again the difference comes, the other questions arises at the stage of data collection for a researcher. You have to again go back and do your work on understanding as to what is your approach. So hence, firstly, in the very beginning stage itself, you try to understand, the researcher has to understand as to its approach or the methodology method that the research proposed research is on. Is it a quantitative, qualitative, experimental, ethnographic, etc.? So there are many. Which one are you focusing on? This will enable you to give an idea as to how your data can be collected. Like, the data can be collected in various forms, like archives are there, interviews are there, observation, survey methods, etc. So which one do you want? Again, it is linked back to your first step, that is approach. Based upon approach, data collection method can be selected. Then details about where, when, and who, or most popularly we call it as sampling. Okay, how from a universe you happen to select a population, and population again you happen to select sample, then target population, then from target population you happen to select the sample can be is sample. Again, from sample you can even end up selecting sample units. Okay, so to whom, that is where, when, and who, all these questions can be answered in your sampling methodology. Which, how are you selecting your sample? You can very clearly state it here. Then tools and materials, like for chemistry, physics, and microbiology, and pharmaceuticals, etc. Various lab equipments, lab experiments are required, right? So what are all these tools that you happen to, see, when you are presenting at the very beginning, you call it as a research design. And when you are presenting your methodology in your dissertation, it is all happened, finished. Okay, now you're writing a very detailed literature about what you have done. Okay, now it is not a proposal. Research design happens to be at the beginning. That is very beginning stage where you try to present it and get it approved by the panel. Okay, after that, in the dissertation, all those tools, materials that you are proposed to use, whether all those equipments, have you used it, or in additions to those which are mentioned, did you add anything? All those needs to be corrected here. Tools, materials, all that you have happened to use, how did you possess them, for what duration? Sometimes even if they're sponsored through ICSSR or through any other bodies, you also have to mention about the budgets, the expenditures incurred in order to maintain those labs, etc. So hence, programs, lab equipments, etc. needs to be very clearly stated in the methodology. Then again followed by data analysis and methods. Suppose sometimes you use some techniques like descriptive techniques, inferential analysis, etc. under statistics. Okay, or Python, SPSS. There are several ways to conduct process our data and do conduct our data analysis. So how are you doing it? How did you do it? Okay, not doing, sorry, did it. How did you do it in your research work project? Okay, that you have to clearly state here. Then in case if you have faced any obstacles, also that can be mentioned under the limitations and scope. Scope or limitations can be mentioned, where you will be talking about various obstacles which happen to stop you, or which happen to hinder your developments in the work, etc. So those can be focused under methodology. Then results. Again, I would repeat here the same thing. Please try to have a connection between your researchable questions, objectives, which will enable you to draft your results properly. So again, a research report at the end finally should be focused on the various findings that you have done. Findings are the learnings that you have, that a researcher happens to do. Okay, and it will be in the form of the in the form of visualization. It can be interpreted in different ways. All your findings can be connected back to your researchable questions and objectives. You can include them in the form of graphs, tables also. Okay, and then based upon the findings that you have identified, you will now present a discussion, which is also otherwise called as conclusions and suggestions. Okay, some discussion. The discussion is slightly different with conclusion. How and let's see. Here you interpret your results. That's what did you find? You will try to interpret, and did they meet your expectations? Now, this is again back to your researchable questions. You started with some question, right? So here at the end, you are going to connect it back to your expectations, which were drafted in the form of a question. So you will have a very quick check about the question. Did you meet it? Okay. Is your question answered? Okay. Then you'll try to establish a framework. Okay, now here a framework includes a flowchart, a kind of connections that you happen to create. This framework you can discuss with your supervisor and include it in your PhD thesis, where you happen to show very briefly with the help of a chart or a flow chart with various the styles of squares, diamonds, rectangles, boxes, circles, etc. You'll establish a framework, okay, showing the connection between the researchable questions, objectives, and how did you were able to draw findings, conclusions, and followed by, so how did you finally do it from the beginning till end. The complete dissertation will be in a form of a layout. Okay, then what factors might have influenced any expected results? Yes, in this process, as I told, it's a long process. So in this long process, you may deviate, you may happen to learn something more better than what you have started. Okay, that is something which is unexpected. Okay, when you happen to start, it is your knowledge, sometimes it is your supervisor's knowledge, and a very narrowed learnings that you possess from your own circle. But in this course, in this duration, you happen to explore more about it, so there may be something which you have not ever expected, and you came across, and out of your curiosity you end up learning it. So all those unexpected results, again, please do not deviate from your questions that you have happen to start and end up only focusing on those questions. Yes, you may get influenced with these kind of unexpected learnings. Okay, yes, they are all good and healthy for your PhD dissertation and defending day, but cannot be included much on the focus should not go on those, because they goes beyond your scope. Okay, you have your own limitations only which you have to focus on. Okay, consider alternative interpretations, then acknowledge the limitation. This all learnings will enable you, since just like I said, something which you have learned beyond your expectations, beyond your understanding. I mean, you didn't ever expect that this learnings would this exploration would happen, but you have that experience. All this can be comprised of should be can be shown under your limitations, and a researcher a healthy conclusions can be like scope for further research. You can talk about your all exploring and the focusing that you couldn't do it in your PhD work can be focused on in your next future works. Probably not a PhD, not a complete like dissertation that you would be writing, but you can focus again on bringing a research paper on those lines. So this limitation, this will become a limitation for your study, which you are not focusing on. Probably you can later focus on, or it is giving a hint to the next generation, or to the next PhD scholar who can focus their PhD scholars on those lines. So that is your limitations. Finally, drawing conclusions. What are conclusions? Again, I repeat, researchable questions. We are coming back again. So see how imperative it is for you to create a connection between your research questions, objectives, and your finally conclusions and results and conclusions. With this connection, you will be very smoothly making your journey very comfortable journey. You can go on with this connection. If you do not connect, you will deviate, and you will explore many other things which may deviate or get influenced. You as a researcher would get influenced through all those learnings. So hence, creating these connections are very important between research questions, objectives, and followed by your findings and conclusions. Make suggestions for future research. That's what just I discussed. What all your limitations are. Like supposing you end up doing only on in a particular laboratory, only on a particular, within that given situation, observe tools and techniques. Probably you were not able to use some advanced technique in it. You can give a suggestion, okay, because it was not limited. Somebody else could take up if they have the tool. They can concentrate on using that tool. They can repeat that study on another set of sample. So that way you can give suggestions on future research. Show what you have contributed very clearly and very interestingly. You should focus on your contribution. Then emphasize the relevance of your research, how it was important, and what is your contribution should be definitely focused on finally. And again, here in conclusions, never give any arguments, discourage arguments. Don't go into arguments. Don't get into new data. That is some new exploration that you have done. Don't talk about that. Since you have already included them in your limitations, you just have to leave it writing in the limitations. Interpretations also no. Okay, you should not focus. Interpretations focus only in the section of results. Conclusions only focus on researchable questions, objectives, your findings, that is your results. What did you identify? Results as based upon that conclusions. Numbers, etc. should be avoided. Simply, you should conclude your work. And finally, we move on to the last part of your dissertation. First part, I repeat, includes some papers of your title, abbreviations, glossary, certificates, acknowledgements, etc. Main part of your dissertation will include various chapters. Broadly speaking, the chapters include or focus on introduction, literature review, methodology, findings or results, discussions, and conclusions. That's your main part. And then end part. What is end part? End part includes the references. Okay. Again, for references, the most popular style of referring is MLA and APA style. MLA style and APA style. Again, go back to your and supervisors as suggested. You have to follow. The style that you happen to adopt purely depends upon the requirements to be fulfilled by the researcher. As it is said to you, you have to fulfill. But otherwise, the most popularly used is APA and MLA. Citation generators, you can take the help of. Okay, all those cited, lines, phrases, etc. that you have been used in your main content, that is your chapters, etc. All of them should be acknowledged here under references. Okay, complete, full, and accurate details of each and every single source that you have used should be, presented under references and bibliography section. References and bibliography. Nowadays, we are also including a bibliography, which includes all those websites that you happen to refer in the process of your learning. Okay, then moving on to the appendices. Now, what is appendices? It is an additional data which probably is, did not get placed in your thesis, in your dissertation. Sometimes there are some tables. Sometimes they are not. I mean, they are not possible to be fitted over there in that particular chapter, etc. But yet again, you are very much passionate about to present that data as well, because yes, it is connected and you wanted to show it. So such information which you were not able to, unable to fit it in your dissertation can be included in the appendices. Now, appendices can be again further divided into various sections. Like sometimes if you have some transcripts of interviews, okay, survey questions you have, or say some data tables you have, or graphs or figures you have. So sections again you can make under appendix or appendices, and accordingly you can include all those tables, graphs, transcripts, observation details, survey questions, etc., which couldn't fit in your dissertation, can be a part of your appendices. And with this, the last part, which includes references, bibliography, and appendices. With this, your dissertation is complete. So the main three parts of your dissertation is the beginning part, which includes some pages like title page, certificates, acknowledgements, abbreviations, glossaries, list of table, which includes list of index page, and list of charts, graphs, etc. That was your first pages. Main content, focusing on the various chapters that you organize. The researcher happens to organize in the thesis. Can be a chapter 1, chapter 2 with their titles. But as I showed, they are all focused on these grounds like introduction, literature review, methodology, results, discussions, okay, and then finally conclusions, followed by the last part of your dissertation includes the references, bibliography, and appendices, if any. Again, appendices can be section. If in case you have more number of varieties of things to be shown here, the data to be shown here, like example, interview transcripts are there, then questions are there, then table of data you have. Again, data can be in the form of a table or a graph or a figure. All those can be sectioned and very systematically, like appendix 1, appendix 2 names can be given and they can all be shown. This is the last part of your dissertation. So with this, I end up my presentation. I am open for questions. If any questions, please.
The session is open for discussion now. You can post your questions in the chat box, or you can unmute and interact with the resource person. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all.
Yes, yes.
And there's a question, ma'am. Can I read, ma'am?
Yeah.
Is there any limitation on the number of appendices?
No, not at all.
And
as long as they are all relevant to your thesis, you can present it in a very meaningful and a chronological order. That's it.
Glossary should be written in our own words, or it can be copied.
Yes, see, not necessarily to be written on your own words. Copied in the sense, see, suppose as I said, that there should be in English. You can use dictionaries, your respective subject dictionaries, to provide the meanings. Okay, so in the glossary section, you can provide the meanings of those terms that you happen to use in your thesis. Sometimes if you feel like you can give a meaning, yes, you can develop, because you're writing a PhD dissertation. You should be in a position to give your own, in your own words, you can give. So that also will be mostly welcomed. Yes.
Ma'am, good evening.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Actually, I have one doubt, ma'am.
Yeah.
It's regarding acknowledgement. What you said about acknowledgement. Actually, ma'am, is it mandatory to mention the acknowledgement in the thesis?
Of course, yes, sir.
Is it mandatory, ma'am?
Yes, it is. If you don't have much to be mentioned or acknowledged about different other people's, but at least your own supervisor and the university, which has given you the chance,
Opportunity.
the supervisor's help, you have to acknowledge.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Besides
Thank-
others,
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Actually, it was
minimum,
my doubt, ma'am.
yeah, minimum to minimum, at least supervisor.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, another question I can see here. In terms of definition, can it be own words or copied? Yes, it can be in your own words. As I just said, I repeat again, you are writing your PhD dissertation. You should be in a position, you possess in-depth knowledge about those terms. So definitely you can have in your own words as well. Um, Can I repeat the topic for PhD, which I had studied for MAd as an extension? See, in the extension, whatever, as I just told you, I discussed in my uh, main part, limitations, about limitations. If you could recollect and connect, certain things we explore while conducting the research work, which doesn't come under the purview of our work. Like, we happen to get more knowledge about it, and we have a point of regret. I should have also included this, but no, you cannot include now because your research design is already approved. Okay, your panel members have already approved your work. You should be only on those lines within that scope. So, what you happen to not cover in your MAd work, those can be concentrated. Yes, sir. Subject can be same, topic also slightly you can modify, but you can explore it in a different way. Probably duration is different, sample could be different, tools and techniques that you haven't applied or deprived of using it at that time can be used it. So that way you can make slight differences, and you can provided the university accepts your work. That's great, Nidhi Khanna. Well, thank you. Mm, Shravya Sanjeev Nergo. I also had the same question about MA to PhD topic. Yes, sir. I have clarified just now. Shravya Sanjeev. Yes. Yeah. I think I have taken up all these questions. Jayalakshmi, if any, you can. If
Any
I
other questions? Can we make our thesis publishable?
how can we make our thesis unpublishable? Publishable. Yes, sir. See, let your PhD gets awarded first with this dissertation that you happen to submit. Thereafter, post PhD, you can make the presentation, the style of the dissertation in a different way. You can make slight changes. As I told, dissertation includes all these pages, appendix, references, etc., etc., but not a book. So hence, what you can do is, with the help of your supervisor, like any general textbook that happens to be, you can present it in the form of a textbook for the purpose of others to use the textbook in those lines, not in the form of a dissertation. Of course, textbook and dissertation have a different presentation methodology. They're totally different. Okay, so you have to take again little time and do all these changes and put them, design it, present them in that book style. And yes, you can go to any publishing house and you can go for book publishing on the name of your topic and your name. Yes, you can go for publishing, but the format differs. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Very informative talk, madam. You learned a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chetan sir.
Neeti Kanna ma'am, do you have any question, ma'am? You have posted in chat box.
How to mark the problem? Debnath. Ma'am, how to mark the problem? Research problem you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Is the dissertation like synopsis? No, not at all. Synopses are a very brief and concise, precise presentation of the whole work of your dissertation. Not at all, Megha Rewal. Dissertation is not at all synopsis. And Devanath sir, yes, researchable question. It is the inquisitiveness of the researcher, the probe attitude of probing the problem from the various sources. Out of the various sources, out it can be out of your own interest. Okay, why is it that how suppose there is a model of doing some activity. Okay, there is a step by step process which one has to adopt. So you may, out of your inquisitive, why should I do it in this way? Don't I have an alternative way to do this same job? That is your inquisitiveness. That is your probing of questioning. Okay, so in this kind of attitude, when you have of not accepting the way it is, you are in a line of understanding and moving towards a researchable question. This inquisitiveness, this particular probing can be converted into a valid research question, which again forms the base for your researchable objectives. Thank you, Uma Maheshwari. Thank you, Uma Maheshwari.
I think there are no more questions, ma'am. Shall we wind up, ma'am?
Yes.
On behalf of IoT Academy, we thank Dr. Vasudha for the interactive, informative, interesting, enlightening, and enriching session, ma'am. We thank you once again for the amazing presentation. We thank you for enhancing our knowledge with the commendable presentation, ma'am. Thank you very much for your efforts, ma'am. I thank all the participants for joining the session today. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you. I take this opportunity to thank IoT Academy for giving me this opportunity. And I thank all the active learners, active participants for active listening. And also I appreciate the kind of questions that, that are being posted in the chat and also otherwise. I appreciate all your active learning attitude towards it. Please keep it on, and may you all reach great heights with this. I thank each and every one of you. Thank you, and off for the day.
Thank you, ma'am. You're welcome, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. Kindly submit the feedback form using the link that has been posted in the chat box. Thank you all.